I just finished reinstalling the CRT and the front plate of the set, which is die-cast aluminum. I put a piece of aluminum foil across here because the external Aquadag coating was pretty scraped off up here. And I want to make sure there's a good ground contact between the chassis and what remains of the coating. Let's see, here's the speaker. There should be a mounting bracket, so it's held on something like so. But I was talking to my friend last night, the owner of this set, and he said that's how it was when we got it. It was just hanging and flopping around. So I suspect whoever had done those old dubious repairs that I found in the power supply section also forgot to reattach the speaker. So we'll have to fabricate something for that. So the piece came loose. This little scrap of cardboard is supposed to go on here and kind of keep this out of the way. This is the actual video signal. It goes to the CRT. I did remember to install the brass sleeve correctly on this one, so here it is. Remember, you can slide this sleeve in and out of the yoke to control the width of the picture. And here's the ion trap magnet. I'll have to swing this around and slide it back and forth to get the brightest possible picture. And that's about it. So I'll swing this set around and plug it in, and let's see if we can get an image. Alright, here goes. Not vertical.
TFBank.com. Member FDIC. Uno, dos, tres. 3 albums of new music from Green Day. Rolling Stone says big new plan in a way to keep Green Day returns. Uno, dos, tres.
Oh, yeah, we kind of got vertical now. Let's see about that iron trap magnet. There we go. Good with that. See, we got too much width, and it's the vertical linearity. Vertical hold's kind of touchy. There's the height control. Just like with the other set, you adjust any of these and they all interact with each other. I gotta give the vertical circuit on this a little check over, a little going over, because it's really touchy. Shadow over here too. Let's see if I can get rid of that with the magnet. That's better. Alright, so real close. I'm going to power the set down and check out the components around the vertical sync, vertical oscillator. I think I found the problem, or at least narrowed down the area where the problem lies. This used to be a 22k ohm resistor. It's only measuring 43 ohms right now. I just replaced it. The original was half watt. I threw a 1 watt resistor in there. That resistor is this guy right here, which goes to the vertical multi-vibrator oscillator and the output tube and on the linearity control. So yeah, that resistor being messed up will really throw this off. What caused it to fry? Not entirely sure. I'm going to fire this back up and see how it runs and keep an eye on that resistor, see if it's getting hot. Sometimes these old resistors just let loose. This old carbon composition starts to deteriorate, moisture can get in there and they can just burn out. But there might also be some issue with something else in here putting too much stress on that component. A thought occurred to me before I powered this setup. I'm glad I did, because I think I might have just saved myself from frying another resistor. A lot of the sets I've shown in the past use CRTs with electromagnetic focus. There'll be a big coil of wire around the neck on the CRT, and there'll be a focus control on the set. Later tubes like this one use electrostatic focus, which is what this pin is for over here. And there's a little metal shim here. And the other electrostatic focus sets I've worked on, like the Predict is, it indicates on the schematic that you can either short this pin over to here or over to here. You choose whichever side gives you the best focus. However, on this set, they show that pin 6, which is the focus pin, tied to pin 10, which is going to 245 volts. Right now, I've got that strap going from pin 6 to pin 2. Now, I haven't traced out the wiring to the pins on this socket, but it's entirely possible that they have pin 6 tied to 245, which is the main power supply B plus in the set. And by having that strap position wrong, I'm routing 245 volts to pin 2, which should be at 0 volts, which is going over and over and over and frying that resistor out. So I'm going to pop this strap off and move it to the other position. Now, if you're wondering, well, how did it get in the wrong position? I may have done that, because when I got this, the strap was, I think, loose or already off the base, and I just tossed it on there in one position. And I figured I'd swap it the other way if the focus wasn't that good. Never occurred to me that it had to be in this position or it would cause problems. So it's just a thin piece of brass with some holes punched, with a hole punched into either end, and you just slide it on there and then pop the socket over it. Alright, let's see what difference that makes. Alright, let's see what difference that makes. Notice the vertical oscillator takes a while to get going. It's not so good. Not very good for the CRT, but it does start working after a while. No, it didn't fix the problem. Well, the hunt will continue. I thought it was odd that the vertical oscillator was taking so long to warm up, so I thought I'd pull the tube out and swap it out. I noticed something. I had a 6cm7 in there. It's supposed to be an 8cm7. So I think between working on these 3 bug-eye sets, I've kind of mixed my tubes up, so I'm going to go hunting around for an 8cm7. I believe that the electrical characteristics are identical, just a different heater voltage, but it could account for the different warm-up time, because this may be a 600 milliamp. In fact, I'm sure this is a 600 milliamp tube, whereas the 8cm7 is a 450 milliamp tube, which means this tube was not getting the right amount of current going through it, which would account for a whole host of vertical problems. Alright, I've got a good feeling. I think this time it's finally going to work properly. So no problem with the long delay with getting the vertical oscillator to start running. Came up right away. Damn, still no hold up. But it's getting closer. Definitely getting closer. That sort of hold. It's stable. It's just not stable in the right spot. Ah, there we go. Aha. It's just playing with all 3 of the controls yet again, the height, linearity, and so on. Put the centerings off a bit. Screen picture should be down a little. Not too bad. Try hooking up a real video signal to it. Alright, still needs a bit of tweaking. I'll need to get a test pattern generator up there. Still not quite centered right, and the linearity's off a little bit, but not bad. I gotta go out of town for a couple days to Texas, so I'm gonna pick up on this when I get back. I made it back from Dallas safe and sound. A few minutes after I got home, my doorbell rang, and when I opened it up, I found a postal worker handing me this big box, which is my order from Antique Electronics Supply with those potentiometers I need for all 3 bug-eye sets. Now, if you're wondering why is this box so big for a few potentiometers, I will cut it open and show you. Alright, lots of goodies in that box. I'll quickly run through what's in there besides those pots. One, I picked up some decals. Really just need one of these, and that is a Sonora decal for that Sonora TV that I picked up a few months ago. I want to refinish the cabinet on that, and I'll need a new decal. Of course, I got another bottle of Novus number 2. Can never have too much of this stuff. Got a roll of some bus wire. Some of you guys that hang out on the Philco forum might know why I'd be interested in some bus wire. It has to do with dog bone resistors. More on that later. Got a bunch of these felt pads. These go behind knobs so the knobs don't rub against the cabinet. I got a whole bunch of these because I want to put them on all my Admiral TV sets. And I got a bunch of them. All the Admiral knobs originally had felt behind them, but most of them are deteriorated or missing from my set. So I picked these up. Here are the pots. So I'm anxious to pop a couple of these guys out and see how they actually fit in the set. And I can get rid of this guy and put a proper control on it. In fact, I'll be replacing the brightness control on all three sets. That's what this guy is. Alright, also picked up some of these decorative brass screws. You use these for holding speakers on, mounting them onto the cabinet. I think one of my sets needs some of these. And finally this, which is service cement. GC service cement. I've heard this works really good on repairing speaker cones, so I thought I'd give it a try. I know I've used the Eileen's fabric glue in the past, which works fine, but I figured while I'm placing an order, I might as well pick up some of this stuff. I'm especially curious to try this because this stuff, as you can see, is made especially for speaker cone repair. Now this little pile of stuff does not account for that box being so large. So what else was in that box? Well, it's a roll of Tolex. This is a vinyl type material that's used typically on amplifier cabinets. I got this for my Freed Eastman Educator AM/FM radio, you guys may remember from some time ago. So I got a nice big roll of this stuff. I'm going to do a little bit of practicing with some contact cement and then try tackling that cabinet sometime in the not too distant future. I've never done Tolex repairs before, that's why I want to do a little bit of practicing on some scrap wood. I just installed one of the new controls and they fit fine and they work fine, but shafts are still a little bit too long. Here's one of the originals. It looks like it's about 3/8 of an inch. Whereas this is more like 3/4, so I'm just going to have to cut that down, but otherwise it works just fine. I'm getting ready to install another one. So this was brightness, and this will be the AGC. See that I've got these metal ears here. You pop the control in, those ears go into the slots. You take a pair of pliers, you twist those over, solder wire the lugs, and you're good to go. So that'll be it for this set. This set only had two bad controls, the brightness and the AGC. Next I want to pull up that Bug-Eye set that had the bad brightness. It would just go from full brightness to black and nothing in between. I'm anxious to see if that set has a nice continuous brightness range with the new control, because that's the set that has the rebuilt picture tube in it. Here's the very first Bug-Eye set I worked on. This is the one that had all those bad controls. Here are the two that I hacked in there. And I just removed the bad brightness control here. And here is the replacement. As you can see, they're darn near identical, except for the shafts. But it looks like there's enough fluting on this one that even if I cut it down, there'll be enough for the knob to grab onto. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that shaft down before I even bother installing it. Once I do, I cut the shaft down with a Dremel tool and a cutoff wheel. So it's nice and short like the other controls, and the knob does fit on. I also dissected the original control, and not too surprising, it's got the same problem as all the others. It's all rotted out, all the carbon's falling off. Alright, so let's see what difference that makes.
take a look at that next time I have a chance.
I really am tired. I should try and get some rest.
Yeah, you should be fine. The road down to the main highway's probably a little
Alright, we have brightness control now.
in the morning. We have to I am. So what do we do? Why don't we just cozy on down?
Excellent.
Snug and warm by the fire.
That tuner's touchy. Should shoot some cleaner in there. Alright, so I'm going to continue replacing controls on all three sets. And pretty soon we can wrap up these sets and get back to the predictors.